International Groningen.
International Groningen. International Groningen.
Hello, my name is Anastasija, and today we are here with International Groningen podcast. Today we're going to talk about formalities, practical matters, and also lives of expats and more adult internationals in Groningen, North, and Netherlands in general. So today I have on my right Greta and on my left Karen. And we're going to have a discussion about all these interesting aspects and how to survive and make the most of your life here in the North, in Groningen, and also in general in the Netherlands. Could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Karen Prowse. I come out of the US. I've lived in the Netherlands now for 28 years.
That's quite a...
It's a very long time, but also not long at all.
No. What about you?
I'm Greta. I come from Moldova and I live in the Netherlands 10 years, almost 11. Mm-hmm. Yes, and I came to study music, piano, and I stayed after.
Yeah, one of the survival of the fittest internationals that stayed. Yeah, I also stayed, but why actually? And especially for you, because it was like almost not pre-internet, but pre-internet community, so to say.
Not that old, but yes. Yeah. No, my husband is Dutch.
Yeah.
And he got a job here with the university as an assistant professor. Mm-hmm. And I came along. And it was actually a lifestyle choice that we made. We worked very long hours in the US, as was normal, 60 to 80 hours a week. And we had a young son. And we decided we didn't want to do that anymore. We wanted to spend more time together as a family.
68 hours a week.
60 to 80.
60 to 80.
Yeah.
Are there even so many hours in a week?
There are.
Yeah.
But you don't want to spend your life working them.
Yeah.
No, true, yeah.
So here there was a balance between work and life. People work just as hard, but they play just as hard. Mm-hmm. And we really wanted to experience that level of balance in our lives.
Yeah, yeah. And that was the main argument.
That was the main argument. My father passed away before he could retire, just around that time. And I didn't want that to happen to me. So we looked at the possibilities that we could have in our lives. And since my husband was Dutch, coming to the Netherlands was a possibility. Mm-hmm. So we decided we'd try it. If we didn't like it, we'd move back. But we stayed.
How long is the trial? At what point were you like, this is like, if after 3 years or something we don't like it? Did you have a deadline?
Yeah, no, I think we were just thinking we'll try it for a year or two and see how it goes. But we never, ever thought about moving back.
Okay, yeah. And what about you? Was life and work balance also something?
First of all, I came to study music, and in my country, music studying is a bit, it's different. It's not that much work for musicians. I mean, it is lots to do, but I wanted to experience studying here abroad. Mm-hmm. And basically, studying was great. I loved it.
And the student life?
And the student life. Everything was perfect here. I studied very hard and I had to, But I was thinking, of course, to move from Groningen, to move maybe to a bigger city after graduation. But the thing is that my specialty, piano, teaching piano especially, is actually very popular. And before I got a chance to move away, I started getting more and more work. And also when it comes to concerts, it's very important, the networking. So moving to a different city would mean to like cut everything, all the network, and start again from zero. And that's very hard. Yeah. So actually here in Groningen, it started getting better and better. I started having more and more jobs and I'm full. And I never saw a reason to go away from here. Yeah. So that's why I stayed.
Yeah, and network is really like one of the main elements in this. And you work on that professionally also at IWCN. Could you elaborate what it is?
The IWCN is the International Welcome Center North. We started almost 10 years ago, but before that we also had a history as Connect International and City Central, Connect International started in 1995. So we've had a long time in the northern part of the Netherlands, helping internationals to come to and enjoy the experience of living in the Netherlands. So what do we do at the IWCN? We have 3 different tasks. We help people through the governmental formalities, one-stop shop idea. So you only have to come once to one place to get your IND card or give biometrics and to register to get your BSN.
Yeah.
After that, people always have a lot of questions on many, many different topics, and we're happy to answer them, either in person or through telephone or email, coming by, it doesn't matter. And then we organize events and activities so that people get to know each other Dutch people, feel integrated, and feel connected to the Northern Netherlands. We also give advice to companies that want to hire internationals.
Yeah. And what kind of advice, for example? What should I think?
Well, a lot of times companies are thinking about hiring an international and they've never had one in their company before. So they have no idea what the effect would be on their corporate culture. They have no idea what paperwork they need to do, what government formalities they need to do, what sorts of things they should think about, how they should welcome them. Do they have to have things in English? So we give advice on a broad range of topics, really, so that the company recognizes or realizes that it's different but not impossible to hire internationals, and that it actually adds diversity and increases your innovation and productivity in the company.
Yeah. So basically you have like kind of three target audiences. First of all, internationals, both EU and non-EU.
And students and working people, families, they're all our target group.
Yeah. And also like you're good with people reaching out to you with what are the top 3 questions or top 5 questions?
It depends on the life phase that they're in, and it depends on what phase of the moving process they're in. So when they first come, it's all about the practicalities. How do I get my residence permit, my BSN? How do I open a bank? That's always the top priority, I think. But then they have questions about healthcare. They have questions about maybe importing a car, schools for the children, how the health insurance packages work. All the practical things you have to set up when you move to a new country.
And that's a lot in the Netherlands.
That's a lot in the Netherlands. It's a lot of anywhere, actually. And just knowing that there's a place where people can go to ask their questions, that gives people a lot of comfort. And we have a lot of information on our website, as well as being available 4 days a week that people can come by and talk to us.
Did you know about the IBCN?
No, I don't
That's
think
why
so.
we're making this episode, because I was just preparing for for this episode, and I was just checking your website because I think it got updated a while ago,
Yes.
and I was truly shocked how much information you have there about any kind of possible situation, relocating, moving, childcare, this and that. Everything is in there. So like if we would have like to make a milestones for internationals, for example, for expats, what would be the step 1? Check your website.
Check the website, be prepared. So before people come here, they should really know what they're getting into. And we have a lot of available information, as you said, on the website, so you can read about it and think about it. There's also many documents that have to be prepared in a specific format in order to register here and get your BSN, because without your BSN, you don't exist. So that is definitely something we advise. The more you know, the easier the transition will be.
Yeah. So just check do you still publish these guides for each year?
We do. Since COVID, we've only done them digitally. It's still on our website.
We're going to link it below also, or
updated for 2024, and we're working on 2025, and hopefully we will actually have a printed version of 2025 for about the first 6 months that people are here. What do they need to know?
That's a guidebook, so to say. So that's like more theory, and if we talk more about practice, because you did like a transition into life of a student to a life of an adult international. How does it feel? How is the community?
Well, I would say that I think personally that it's much easier to integrate into a society when you're a student. When you come here, you're young, you're a student, you know, I have some relatives or friends that also came to the Netherlands, but they are already like adults with family, with jobs, and they have so much hard time doing it. So as a student, of course, I lived first years in a student bubble with my teachers, with my students from different parts of the world. It was amazing, of course. And as much as I tried to learn Dutch then, it didn't stick because I'd never even practiced it as well, you know. But I think after graduating, that was a bit the harder moment, you know, because the first year after graduation, I felt like, okay, what am I doing? Who am I? And I had suddenly to I started learning Dutch. I started, when I started working at the music schools, I felt like, okay, am I like now a colleague of these people who work here for years? I felt a bit also insecure because I just was a student, but also because I had to learn Dutch. So it took me some time to feel a bit at home, But I wouldn't say that it was that hard as I thought. And I thought, I think there is a bit of a stereotype that it's hard to integrate in the Netherlands, that maybe Dutch people are not as open to accept, like you in a community, because you're a foreigner. So maybe in the beginning I felt that way, but I think that's not true because I was...
You think that's not true?
That's not really true.
What do you think?
I think Dutch people have friends from birth. Yeah. And I think it's hard to break into that circle. True. So they will be absolutely wonderfully friendly to you and helpful, but at 5 o'clock they go home.
Yeah.
So when you break through that barrier and you finally start going out with colleagues and other people that you meet, then you know that you've really settled in, I think. Yeah. But until you get to that point, it can be a little tricky.
Yeah, true.
And that's what we try to do is we try to tell people about the customs and culture of the Dutch so that you're aware of the certain types of formalities and things that people will go through. If you're going to someone's house, do you bring a gift or not? Or should you show up 3 hours late? No. Things like that. So we try and prepare people for actually integrating with the Dutch. And my best friend right now is Dutch.
Yeah. But that took you 28 years.
Well, probably a little less, but it took some time. Yeah. The language is definitely helpful. You need to pour yourself into the language. If you want to make your home here, it's only polite to learn the language. And plus, you feel more comfortable in every aspect of your life.
True. Yeah.
So once I could really speak Dutch on a casual conversation with someone, then I felt, okay, this is home.
Same.
Yeah,
same. I actually also have now very good friends, almost best friends, let's say, people who are Dutch. And it's especially... with some of them, I still speak English because it's really weird to switch to Dutch after so many years.
The emotional language is in English if you get to know someone in English,
But I do feel more like, of course, I can imagine that if I was in my country and I have my best friends from childhood and then someone else comes, it would still take a while for foreigners, people to blend in with us. But I think that what I noticed for Dutch people was that when you show that you learn their language, then they are very happy. They're suddenly, okay, yes, come,
they're very welcoming.
Yeah, it's very welcoming. They're supportive. Like I would speak only like a phrase and they were like, yay, wow, you speak Dutch, wow. So very, welcoming. It's like, wait, I just said a sentence.
Yeah, they really reward you for attempting.
Yeah.
But if we would talk about, let's say you studied here, but if you wouldn't, what are the tips for international adults and expats? How can they socialize? What sources are available? What are the tips for both of you?
Well, for us, it would be to join the IWCN Connect Club.
And what is it?
So what that is for 30 euros a year, you can become a member and attend any of the groups and club events. And these are things like a walking club, a running club, a cooking club, a book club, some more like club and hobby activities. You can also attend any of the integration events that we have. So these are webinars and seminars that are offered by some of our service partners that help you get to know the Netherlands better. So it's how the tax system works, or how you can buy a house, or how the healthcare system works.
Or having a baby, for
having
example.
a baby in the Netherlands, Dutch culture and customs. We also have something called My Local Friend, which links up internationals with Dutch people to improve language, but also to get to know the Dutch people and Dutch customs on a personal one-on-one level. Yeah. So there's many different ways that you can tie yourself in. So definitely continue your hobbies.
It's more like a buddy system. So
it's a buddy system. Yeah. So I would say get involved in whatever your hobbies were, either through us or through the many places in the Netherlands where you can do music, sports, any kind of hobby club that you can think of. Volunteer.
Yeah.
Volunteering is a great way to improve your Dutch, as well as to give back to the local community. Get involved in politics if you like doing that, any kind of sports. Getting involved is a way that you're going to feel more comfortable here and also meet more people, both Dutch and international.
But proactively.
Proactively.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be prepared to reach out. And if you reach out, then you will be welcomed
Yeah.
by the Dutch. But if you're too scared to reach out,
You might wait
you
for
might
a while.
be a little bit lost for a while. Yeah.
Yeah. And what are your tips? Like if you, not for, say there's somebody who just came and landed in your position, how would you socialize and build your social networks? What would be your tips?
Yeah, I would say the same. As much as like foreigners, I think, have the tendency to stick to their communities with people from their country, of course, because they come in this like new space and they feel safe. Yeah, it's overwhelming. Yeah, but there's a big risk, and I noticed that because we have a big diaspora, it's called, in many countries, and I noticed that people tend to stick together too much, and they sometimes create this wall a bit, and they don't interact that much with the locals.
Yeah.
So I would say the best for me was and still I would try to do the same, like try to actively participate in hobbies or I don't know, like communicate with non your native like people, but with Dutch people as much as possible, and outside work also try to find hobbies, get out a bit, because it's the more you stay in and only work and home, and then you have this wall, then it's very hard. It gets thicker and thicker, I think.
Yeah, and it's also
true.
It's quite a challenge, but sometimes you want to speak to other internationals. And for example, I think that it's also related to IWCN, the Expats van Groningen group, right? It's semi-formal.
There's three groups: expats in Groningen, expats in Leeuwarden and Friesland, expats in Drenthe, where people can. It's just a meetup group, basically. You can sign up and you can get together with them, and it's in the beginning very nice to meet up with other people from all over the world, because it's not just your own culture; it's from everywhere, including Dutch people. And there's a lot of Dutch people that join as well because they enjoy meeting internationals from abroad.
Yeah.
So you can do that, absolutely. And
We're
that's a good way to do
link
it.
Them.
Yes, that's a good way to meet people.
Yeah. And it's just like a group of people who just goes for beers or sometimes to a movie. Or
it was started actually as sort of an advice group. So if somebody had a question like, where can I get this particular product? They'd throw it in the group and answers. And it's still mostly used by that. They've started recently also having some get-togethers occasionally just to have meetups and casually meet up and see what you can find amongst the people that are there.
I've heard that in Amsterdam and in Utrecht, these groups are massive, and that's also a problem. And it's a benefit because they're so large. The expat community is so huge that you can meet so many people there, keep on meeting new people, that you don't really feel the need to connect to the local community.
And that's never been our aim. We've always tried to actually entice Dutch people to come as well, because we want people to integrate, and we feel that's really the only way you're going to feel at home is if you get to know the culture from the people that are living there. So we have a lot of people in our club, in the IWCN Connect, who are Dutch because maybe they've lived abroad and they still enjoy the connections, or maybe they just want to help somebody with information.
Because some things can be overwhelming. My sister just came to Groningen this Friday, and she apped me when the alarm was going on a couple of days ago. Like, what is this? I'm like, oh yeah, of course. Like, if you're alone here,
you don't know.
You don't know, and there's nowhere we can Google, because if you Google, you will end up in Dutch newspaper, and you don't speak. Maybe you can use Google Translate. But I was like, oh, actually, there are much more knowledge that we already share and that we already have that might come in handy for people who just came here. And apart from these things that we just discussed, what do you think is the biggest challenge for expats? And I don't know if it's handy to divide them by EU, non-EU, or is it like one group?
Well, I think finding a job is a challenge, no matter where you're from. It's a little bit easier for people from the EU because they don't need a work permit, but they still face the same issues, is that a lot of places still requires at least some Dutch.
Yeah.
And luckily, there's a program called Make It in the North that lists all the job openings that are open for international people that don't yet speak Dutch. And most everyone I know that starts to work will learn Dutch within the first year.
Yeah.
because that's a perfect way to learn it when you're really forced to learn it, and you want to learn it because you want to do your profession and you want to do it well.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Me too.
Same.
Yeah.
Did you learn Dutch?
Yes, but also just by trying to work.
Yeah.
So it was this first year after graduation, and I was asked to replace a teacher because he was sick. And they told me, yes, but then you would have to speak Dutch. And I was learning Dutch. I could just very basic. And it's like, are you ready? And I'm like, sure, yes. And I thought, fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
But then I really tried my best to learn, and I came prepared for all the lessons with all the potential sentences, phrases, whatever I need.
Yeah.
And just maybe I didn't feel really ready to start working. If you would ask me, like, okay, if you would work tomorrow in Dutch, would you feel, are you ready? I would say maybe no, but I knew that I have to do it.
Yeah.
And I know still some people who say, I'm not really ready to do the same job because then I'm not really I don't really feel confident with Dutch. And I tried to tell them, you will never feel confident unless you just throw yourself. Yeah, it will be. But people are understanding also. So I noticed that, yes, many people maybe didn't understand me as well as I wanted. But if they don't understand, they ask you, what do you mean? And then you use your body language, whatever. And then
and actually making mistakes is the best way to learn.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And actually using the language.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, but it's quite a challenge. I think a lot of expats go through this. I also had it when I started working, and in Dutch, I would really go through my mails in Dutch, and sometimes it would be big documents. I would ask a Dutch person to read it, and my boss is like, "Don't do this. Everybody knows you're international. You're doing good." But I was like, it takes me a whole day to send a mail in the beginning because I was just so insecure about it. But everybody knows you're international.
Yes, exactly.
And they're like, yeah, of course. How many words Latvian do you speak? Probably not. So they understand it, but it's still quite a...
Yeah, but it's good that you did it. I remember I was going to this okay, my work is mostly still one-on-one. So I'm teaching one student at a time, so that's still okay. But I had sometimes some meetings for the whole day meetings for teachers. And then it was full, like a different type of language, more high level. And I remember the whole day I was trying so hard to concentrate, and I felt that I was having so much hard time understanding. I did understand, but it would take me all my energy.
Yeah.
And now, after going through that, now I can sit and I understand it. I
had the same thing with my husband's family. We would go away for these family weekends, and I would tell them only speak in Dutch. And at the end of the weekend, I would be exhausted,
right?
just from the effort it took. And now, it's no problem.
Fine. Yes.
Yeah.
But is it really no problem, or do you sometimes just want to listen to just English and to just completely relax?
Of course, that's always going to stay.
Yeah.
I think that's for everyone that has a mother language. It stays your mother language, even if you're fluent in another one.
If you really want to relax on a different level, for me at least, I have to watch something really not intellectual and really my language, and then I'm feeling I'm fully relaxed.
Yeah.
Dutch funny shows or English funny shows, it's good, but if I really want to completely let it go, then it should be my food, my language, and just my where I was until I was 19 or something.
True.
Yeah, absolutely.
Same.
Yeah. Do you really feel that sometimes you just need...
Yes, sometimes, for example, when I'm in vacation and I don't have to teach anymore in Dutch and I don't have to work, and I notice, especially after the vacation, when I have to start working again, I'm like, oh, wait. Wait, I have to... It's am I always... doing it in Dutch, unbelievable,
That's really I also always come back a bit rusty, and it's difficult to make a full 8 hours. I think it's a universal thing that you're how much? Oh, we're just 2 hours in.
Oh, that's just vacation in general, I think.
And also you forget the most basic things.
Yes.
But I think, Karen, you've also seen many generations of expats, but at the moment, what can you say? What are the top 3 mistakes that they make that you think if you would have not done that, or if you would have done that, your life would be much better?
I think really, whether you think you're ready or not, start from day one with some kind of Dutch lesson. It can be just listening to a tape. It can be participating in a class, whatever you think, but start getting familiar at least with the sounds of the language, the cadence, the rhythm, watch a Dutch TV show, doesn't matter. If I had really done that from the beginning, then I think I would have much earlier been more fluent. But I said, okay, I'm going to first get settled here and get my kids settled and figure out what I can buy at the grocery store and what it is.
Yeah.
And then I'll start learning Dutch. But actually, you start learning Dutch from day one. And if you put the effort in earlier, it's going to be easier. So that is one piece of advice I would say. And be prepared. Read up on it. We've had people come into the center that had no clue where Groningen was located within the Netherlands.
Okay. Yeah.
So be, proactive. Look up where you're going to be and a little bit of the customs of the place that you're going, just to make yourself feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
I think those are two of the important tips that I would give anyway.
What about you? What would you advise people who are...
Yeah, I would say from day one, but also try to communicate with people, with Dutch people, with try to make friends as soon as possible. I think,
so you don't feel isolated.
Yeah, true. And I noticed, for example, people that come with kids, for example, a young couple with the kids, and they found both jobs here. Okay, jobs is settled, but that's it. And then they still live in this bubble. And I think the longer you go, the worse it gets. I think,
It's harder to break out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think trying to communicate with people around you, that's the most important thing.
And be patient with yourself. Realize that you've made a huge change in your life and it's going to take time, like with any change. So give yourself that 6 months to a year to go through the culture shock curve and come out the other side when you really enjoy living in the place that you are.
Yeah. And Greta, you mentioned people coming with kids and spouses, and you specifically also are focusing on this because it's one thing that if you're lucky, you come with family and you both have a job, but that's a lot of times not the case.
Well, that's most often not the case. No, only one person comes with a job and the other one is left to fend for him or herself. And we've seen both. It's both men and women as the trailing spouse. And I think it's
spouse. That's
it's an American expression. Yeah. And I think it's more difficult for the one person who's left at home.
Yeah.
Because the other one's at work, they're meeting colleagues, they're out there. But the person who's home, you're ready to pounce on your partner as soon as they come home because you've been alone all day.
Yeah.
So forcing yourself just to go out and do things to make yourself comfortable there is really, really important. Whether the person wants to work, whether they want to study further, whether they just want to get involved in hobbies, it doesn't matter as long as you put yourself out there.
Yeah, and you also have special services or projects also for spouses, like Connect and stuff.
We do have where they can meet people.
Yeah.
And in the past, we had something called Links, because it was mostly a woman who's a trailing spouse. So that stands for Ladies International Networking Knowledge and Support, where we focused on the women. Again, whether you wanted to do self-improvement, look for a job, build a career, learn what to do more with your children, it didn't matter, but it was focused on the trailing spouse to make them feel more comfortable here.
And these services are still available?
Well, we are going to restart Links or something like Links, or expand on what's already being offered by the university for dual career support. Really reinvent it for the current times.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. And what about people coming with children? What where can people find just basic general information? Because I can imagine, like in Moldova, it's a very different education system than here, and also in the US and many other places. So it's to understand just the context, which class, why do children go to school so at such an early age? What is happening? Why they go there at 3 or 4? In Latvia, they go at 7 and 7.5. Like, where can people find information about this?
We do have information on the Dutch education system on our website as well. And we have lots of parents and kids groups where parents get together and can share their expertise with the newcomer parents,
also
essentially.
Within the IBCN.
Also within IBCN. So that's a good place to start. If your kid is going to school or to a peuterspeelzaal, like a play school or a preschool, talk to the other parents. Find out what the information. That is essentially your cohort. So those are the people you want to make contact with.
But this is also available for people to check out.
Yes.
Do you notice? Do you notice the differences between like school system in Moldova? Because you're also like a bit integrated, right, in the school system here.
Yes.
Was that a culture shock?
I never studied at university there. And when I came here, of course, I I know a bit how the studies is there. So yes, it was different. It was a bit of a culture shock. And many things are actually culture shock. For example, for me, it was a culture shock that everything has to be done by appointment. For example, when I was a student and I was like, what, can't I just go now and today fix my problem?
Yeah.
And, I noticed that everyone in the beginning is just angry on this. Like, no one wants to accept this. And I was one of them. Why? This is taking so slow. And now I'm on the opposite side. Like, come on, you can plan your life.
And children are taught how to use an agenda in school.
Yeah, how to time management,
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So that was a bit of a culture shock. But in general, studying as a student, what I loved was shocking, but then I loved it, was the fact that teachers, the relationship between teachers and students, I would say.
Formal.
Yeah, less formal, but also it feels like they're your friends.
Yeah.
And you really want to learn from them. And they are not there to show you how stupid you are and like how smart I am and how you have to, like grow at my level. But I liked that you could, for example, ask questions and they don't judge, or like they don't, I would not say that everyone judges in Moldova, of course, but somehow it's different. There's like, okay, you came to study and I'm the teacher.
Power distance.
It's hierarchy. It's different. And here I remember that I felt so embarrassed at one subject that I couldn't do well, and I felt a bit not good at that subject. And I remember that after the semester the teacher told me like, why are you so stressed about it? And I'm like, because why am I, like, other students are doing so great, and I don't know what was wrong. I was so insecure. And he told me like, but you're here to learn. Like, we don't expect you to be able to do that already. Just relax and take this chance to learn. And we don't, so somehow their conversation with me was also psychological, a bit like really they wanted to support me. They wanted to show me that they want me to learn. And I was like, oh, really? Okay, thank you. And suddenly I understood what it means to really study something, And it's not there to just learn some information, but to grow, to learn about yourself. And I love that.
I think that the attitude permeates the whole culture. Here, this, as you said, they want you to learn. And if you're doing your best and your best is a 6, fantastic.
Yeah.
But if you're capable of a 10 and you do 10, also fantastic. But they don't make a distinction between the two.
Yeah.
As long as you are learning and learning what you should learn.
Exactly. So they look at you individually and want you to do better and learn. Exactly.
On your level.
On your level as much as you can. And they try to don't compare yourself with other people, especially in music, because I studied music, right? And it's always super big competition and it's still very personal. Your journey has nothing to do with the other students' journey. So it's like we are... for example, someone would play the same exam, the same level of piece, but someone got a lower level, someone got a higher level. But maybe because their personal journey was different, So that was important.
That's even reflected in the middle schools here, in the high schools, because they have different levels of high schools that you can go into. And that was completely different in the US. We didn't have that at all. There was only one high school system.
Same,
So that was new for me when you came here. What do you mean you have different high schools? And what do you mean from this school you can go to that school, but not that school afterwards, after you graduate? So that was new. But I think it's nice because it's not only nice, it's a way of looking at the whole person and saying, okay, you can achieve this and you can do well at this. And it doesn't put everyone under a microscope to achieve a level that perhaps not everyone's capable of in their journey.
Yeah, maybe you don't even need it at that level.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's really not the culture in Eastern Europe. And I think in the US also competition.
Definitely not.
And performance is the key. But so the school system is very, very different. We're also going to leave some links below to do a small introduction to different, like where you started, because there are completely different approaches. There are international schools, by the way, right?
Yes, there are international schools, both primary and secondary.
Yeah. Yeah, in Groningen only, or?
At the moment, only at Groningen. They're looking to start up a new school in Leeuwarden as well, at least for primary school.
Yeah. And can any international send their kids there, or are there limitations of how long they can stay?
No, any international, as long as you have one international parent, you can be sent there. If both your parents are Dutch, you can only go there if you have lived abroad.
Oh, yeah.
So there are some limitations, but it is open for everyone.
Yeah, and just in general, I have a feeling that Dutch schools are quite welcoming to international children.
Yeah, absolutely. When we moved here, my son was 5, and we thought we were going to stay. So after discussing with the head of the school, he advised us just to put him directly into the Dutch school.
Yeah.
So we did, and within 6 months, he was speaking Dutch.
Yeah.
Kids learn so easily at that age, right? It took me a lot longer, but no, and that's been a great choice because he's done bilingual education his whole life.
So that's really influenced him
Absolutely.
as a person,
Yeah. He's always the one giving presentations in English in his company.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can understand that. That has an extra charm.
Yeah.
At least, I don't know
exactly.
how it is like in the US because everybody speaks English. But then if you have like an American accent or like a British accent, like wow.
Yeah.
That's extra. That's like
Bonus.
big English. And there are like in Eastern Europe at least there are 2 clubs like very British accent, almost super exaggerated that Brits don't even speak, and like a super American. They're always like two clubs fighting, and they're like, no, my son is doing the American English, and then the color is spelled like this. And other
exactly.
words. It's like it's more important for us, I think, sometimes also in Moldova than it is for like actual native speakers. But we make our own thing about this. Prior to our to the podcast filming, we also talked about so from starting, integrating, getting in there. Also talked about a different episode, so to say, in your life as an international, applying for permanent residency, or how it's...
Yes, permanent residency or Dutch citizenship. So after someone has lived in the Netherlands legally and continuously for 5 years, if they're not from the EU, they can apply for permanent residency. And there are 2 types of permanent residency, and not many people know that. One is under Dutch law, and one is under EU law.
Oh.
The one under Dutch law, all years count that you've been here, regardless whether you've been a student or whether you've been on a temporary residence permit or not. But under EU law, study years only count half, and things under temporary permits, such as orientation year, don't count at all.
Okay.
So they will automatically, when you apply for the Dutch residence permit, they will automatically check to see if you meet the conditions for the EU permit. And if you do, then they will give you that. And that's better in some ways because it's easier to get a permit like that in another country, or it relates to the amount of time you can actually spend outside of the Netherlands while still retaining a residence permit. And that's probably the second point that most people don't realize. It's a residence permit. It means you have to live here at least 6 months of the year.
Oh, yeah. So you will lose then you don't have a passport, you have a residence
Exactly.
permit. Yeah.
Passport is if you change nationality, but there are conditions for that as well. You have to do civic integration, which is passing language and knowledge of Dutch culture and working in the Netherlands courses and tests. And it takes about a year. And you have to have a residence permit the entire time until you are sworn in as a Dutch citizen.
Yeah.
So many people say, well, I want to become a Dutch citizen, but my residence permit is ending next month. Like, no, you can't do that. You have to have a residence permit that's valid for at least a year before you can put in the application for becoming a Dutch citizen.
Because to have a residence permit, you also have to have a proper job.
Mostly, yes.
Yeah, a well-paid one. There's also like a criteria in terms of how much your salary can be, right?
Yeah, it depends. For highly skilled migrant permits, there is a salary criteria. You can have a reduced salary criteria if you have graduated from a top 200 university in the world, or if you have graduated with a bachelor's, master's, or PhD here in the Netherlands. That allows you to fulfill the conditions for the orientation year, but you can go directly to the highly skilled migrant permit with a reduced salary criteria. And why is that important? Because that reduced salary criteria is what other EU and Dutch nationals would get as a salary. So it makes you competitive with them. Otherwise, and it's an extremely high salary, and you really have to have expertise before a Dutch company will pay you that amount of money.
Okay. Yeah. I've known Karen for many years, and we work together on international things. But every time I hear something like, "Wow, okay," and, it just comes. Have you also experienced some formality issues or something? Because you're from Moldova.
Me not, because personally I haven't, because I have a double citizenship in Moldova. People have also Romanian citizenship, so I came here as a Romanian, so
So EU.
as EU, yeah. But my friends, for example, musicians, majority of musicians I know, after studies, after the how do you call Zukiar? Orientation year. Musicians, sometimes they apply for an artistic visa, and then they have to prove that they have enough income from their artistic work, and also they have to show that they work with some government, like supported by government projects or something in a year or something. And not a lot of people get it, but that's possible to do. And once they get that visa, they can apply for a permanent residence permit, and then based on that, they can apply for citizenship, actually. So I already know cases of people doing that, and that was because musicians don't really have a job. Like they're forced to work as freelancers, as self-employed, and it's very hard if you're a non-European and you're a musician or working in this kind of
or any other creative, designers.
Yes, even teachers. Nowadays, I work also as a self-employed. There's no more contracts and that you get paid. So that's very hard. So that's one way. But yeah, another one, I don't know. Maybe I know someone who found a job as a non-European and based of the working permit they got, but that's very rare, actually.
For artists,
also for artists, almost impossible, because no one opens contract for you,
So you have to go through this creative visa.
Yes.
How is it called?
Artistic visa.
Artistic visa. Yeah. So this is also a way to apply.
Yeah.
How is life, if you know much about this, how is life of other self-employed internationals from non-EU? Is it doable?
If you already have a business from another country and you want to move here, then it's relatively doable to apply for for the self-employed permit. If you don't yet have a company, then there is a simpler way to apply for the self-employed permit, because you have to show quite a lot of documents for the self-employed. But there's something called the startup permit.
Yeah.
And that is for 1 year. You work with a facilitator who is recognized by the Dutch government as an organization qualified to help you set up your business. And if they give you their approval at the end of that year, then you automatically get the self-employed permit.
Yeah.
But you still have to have about, I think, 15,000 euros in the bank in order to apply for the self-employed permit to keep you for that year, and reach your goals and targets with your facilitator.
Yeah.
But it's something that the Dutch government is really facilitating. They want to attract more entrepreneurs to the Netherlands. So there's startup permit, startup visa Northern Netherlands, startup visa North, I think it's called, that helps you with applying for this. Helps you find a facilitator, can advise you on all the things you need to do as an entrepreneur. So they're really trying to facilitate people coming here and starting a business, or staying here after being a student or working here and setting up a company.
We also gonna link these links, so to say, in the description. We went through almost the whole journey of being here and adjusting here as an adult or as an expat. Do you think that there are some things that we've missed, or something that is like super important for internationals to know?
I can say before you move here, make sure that you are okay with bad weather. I'm saying on a serious. Let me tell you. Apparently, the absence of sun for people who have brown eyes has a big health effect.
Yeah.
So I found out that there is a thing as a seasonal depression.
Yeah.
And my doctor told me that it's a thing. You're coming from a sunny, like more sun. Than here, of course, it's not Greece or something. But actually, half of the year, because it's no sun at all, you can develop a kind of a seasonal depression. And there is I was doing a kind of a light therapy that you go for every day, and you get a light in your face, and then you get better. Yeah. But I think the the biggest thing people complain is the weather, actually.
It's true.
Yeah,
No,
so
we have had clients that actually left the Netherlands because of the
Yes.
weather. That's completely out of our control. We can't do anything about that, but realize that it's really gezellig inside in the Netherlands.
No, it's very nice, but the weather can play a big role.
It can.
Yeah, but even on Dutch people are like, oh, when is this gonna end?
Yeah.
It's a universal thing.
It is. Yeah, definitely.
You get used to it, but having a sunny vacation in between is always like it helps. every
Save some
time.
money for traveling in the winter, I guess.
If you can.
Well, Dutch have a lot of vacation days.
Yes, true. And
So
I have
that
my
is a definite
students-
plus of living here.
Yeah, I'm
I've
looking
seen more
my-
of the world living here than I would ever have seen in the US because we had 2 weeks vacation.
Yeah.
In
2 weeks, yes,
in total,
in total.
Wow.
and
that's
no
good.
maternity leave.
I had 6 weeks.
Good luck with that. Well, Netherlands also not like
Not too much, but
compared.
4 months, that's a lot compared to 6 weeks.
yeah, compared, but still.
Yeah, in Latvia it's much more than this. I think it's a year and a half or something.
Yeah.
So that
yeah,
was a
same
big-
in Moldova,
Nice.
I think. Yeah, I don't know exactly, but it's a year,
Yeah.
maybe 2, I don't know, half.
Yeah. It has
It's
been
much
like
more.
a negative culture shock to me. I was like, what, 3-4 months? Like in total, I think it's all in total it's 4
Yeah.
months. Like, what? But that's so short. What do you do? But yeah, that's also something. On average, I think work and life balance and all the things and your emotional state and that you can also really fight for your rules. It's also a thing. If you feel discriminated, if you feel that somebody sold you a bad product, if you feel that you want a free legal advice, there are sources for everything. You can really find a way to get yourself out of most situations. And the weather and some other things might be questionable, but overall,
Overall, the Netherlands is a safe country. It's well regulated.
Very
It's
nice.
clean.
Yeah.
My kid could play on the street.
yeah.
yeah.
Couldn't do that in San Francisco.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't let him out of your sight. So there are a lot of pluses, I think, there are minuses, obviously, weather.
Yeah.
But I think the pluses outweigh the minuses, and which is why we stayed.
Yeah, it's an ultimate topic because we are filming 6 episodes and somehow we always end up with a weather argument. We talk about cycling, about work, about adjusting, about culture shock, and weather is usually like a crossing point of all the episodes.
All of them and weather.
Yeah,
Like 50% weather, 50% the rest.
Groningen and weather. Thank
No,
you so
that's
much, guys. Yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah, it has been really like a super rich and informative discussion. I hope people at home or wherever they are at the moment will really learn from this. We'll link all the sources below and really hope that you're going to make the most out of your time here. Come prepared, excited, but also educated. Thank you so much.
Thank you
My
for
pleasure.
having
Thank
us.
you.
That was International Groningen Podcast, and we're going to see you again.